It doesn't matter what it says on the front, whether it says all natural or low sodium or blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what it says on the front. Legally, they can put whatever they want on the front. You have to look at the ingredients. And if you don't know what something is or you can't pronounce it, chances are you shouldn't be eating it. So, Brian, go ahead. What are your final thoughts?
Well, as a proud omnivore, uh, yes, I wholly endorse using your canines and your incisors for the purpose they were given. But beyond that, what I see here, the FDA, as we get to the issue of the FDA, it's a problem. I don't know why it's there. It's a waste of money. Uh, the priorities seem to be screwed up with people too, because this is where you want government. Everybody complains we need less government, less government, but this is where you want government. Government is supposed to do good things for the people, and yes, sometimes it takes a government to tell you, you know, this is probably better for you than doing it the other way and regulating it like that. But instead, on your side of the border, your government, you sit there and have them worry about whether kids are wearing baggy pants too low, or what kind of sex ed they're getting in the, you know, whether they can have access to condoms or not, or what size stop signs, shop signs should be, that kind of stuff. That's not where you need your government. Your government doesn't need to control that for you. You need them to be looking after your food, though. You want somebody responsible to make sure that what's going in your body is good, and not leaving it up to you, because if it's left up to me, sure, I'm going to eat all the crap. But I don't mind that, yeah, there's somebody up there who's kind of looking out for me. You know, they may not be my mom or something like that, but at least there's somebody who's worried about what it is that I'm ingesting. So that's my final thought. The FDA, it needs to be something, but as it is right now, it's not anything.
Oh, once again, as a guy who loves, you know, I love my steaks, I love my burgers, all that stuff. You know, the problem that we have, okay, is the FDA is toothless, and something that we didn't really get into is the fact that Monsanto owns a lot of they have a lot of lobbying power, they have a lot of money, they have a lot of control over our food supply. Now that's a bad thing. When one company has so much power over our food supply, that should throw up a red flag, especially when organizations like the FDA cannot even touch it. They cannot even get through those armies of lawyers that Monsanto has the ability to employ. And also, a place like the FDA that does not have the funding to compete with the funding of, once again, corporations, giant corporations like Monsanto. And I'm going to keep beating up on them until people get it. Monsanto, evil. Monsanto, evil. Okay? Get it through your heads. They're not looking out for you. All right? And they have so much power to lobby the government, and you've got an entire faction of lawmakers that are like, no, less regulation, less regulation, less regulation. Well, that's exactly the environment that Monsanto and all of these other places want to operate in. And when they buy the politicians who already think that way, the politicians that have control over, you know, over regulating these industries, they're going to say, okay, we're just not going to regulate you. We're going to cut the funding to the FDA. We're going to take away your teeth. That's a really bad thing. And that should really get people really kind of pissed off, especially me, because I don't want shit in my food. Okay? I don't want to eat a shit burger. I want to eat a hamburger. And then as much, you know, and that's just how I feel about it. As a meat eater, I am insulted.
The FDA is one of those things that we need to put our priorities and our funding into. I mean, it's like education, it's like Social Security, it's like the public transport system. These aren't the things we should be cutting. These are not the things that are adding to our deficit. These are the things that are adding to the benefit and welfare of our people and our society. Trying to raise people up, make fewer people sick, make fewer people in poverty. These are the types of programs that should be a priority in this country instead of being seen as a pain in the ass the way that they seem to be. Like we were saying, if there's one thing that needs to be regulated, it's the safety of our food. Because if you're going to buy food off the shelves at a grocery store, you need to know what went into it to make it, if it's going to be healthy for you or not, if there's genetically modified food in there or not, if it's contaminated or not. You can't have corporations self-regulating because they're always going to be looking at the bottom dollar. They're not going to be looking into your welfare. They're going to be looking into their own welfare, which is monetary. You know, they will pay the Congress people to make sure that they don't pass laws that would make it harder for them to get the products on the shelves that they need to ensnare the people the way that they love doing. It's like a crack dealer. They give you a deal the first time just to get you hooked, and then you keep coming back and you can't help it because of what the product is. That's what they do. They make a living off of trying to find the right combination of shit to put in your food that will get you addicted to it so that you can't stop eating it. It's called the bliss point. They even have a name for it. I'm not trying to make this particular story about an argument for or against meat, but I mean, I'm against it. But if you're going to eat meat, I think we can probably come to the same consensus that you don't want shit, antibiotics, hormones, and just poisonous things inside of your meat at the same time. So, I mean, and that goes hand in hand with stopping the abuse that takes place in factory farming, because the reason that there's shit in your food is because these animals are forced to stand in tight, cramped, crowded areas knee deep in their own feces, and that's how it gets into your food. If these cows were pastured and grass-fed and given some freedom and some actual life before they're slaughtered, then the meat you would be eating at least would be as nature intended it.